People of the world, welcome back. It is the Cash Cast. We got the B Squad today. We got Boone Lasater and Pat Hilton.
Glad to be here.
The international superstar is now
with us. I got to come off the bench today.
You know, how does that feel, by the way? You know, your brother's like the slam dunking, 3-point shooting.
Well, somebody's got to keep the home base rolling.
See, right? That's what you guys don't know.
Well, we all have our positions and our strengths and our lanes that we fall into, and you know it just so happens, you know, one of Ty's biggest strengths is, you know, being in front of on a stage in front of people, inspiring them, you know, getting them to believe in a
We're
message.
Very similar in that aspect, actually.
Right.
He's a go-getter when it comes to just being in front of people.
Right. I'm a go-getter in the office. Right.
Well, your structure-based thinking really helps.
Right. You know, and you know, I thrive when I'm in the office setting and we've got, you know, problems on getting a deal closed or whatever. You know, I'm a problem solver.
Right.
And so that's what I get paid to do in our business, and so that's what I focus my time on.
Right.
So today I want to, you know, we're going to do it a little different. I know y'all do kind of the segments when Ty's here. We're just going to do one segment today. We're going to be a little shorter, but I got a real important topic that I want to talk about. You know, we're going to talk about, you know, I call it sports and business, and it can be celebrities in business or whatever you want to label it as. But I want to chat about the importance of basically practice, right, and coaching in business.
Right.
So many times you see people, once they get out of college and go into the real world, whether they're an entrepreneur or whether they're just, you know,
a piece of a big puzzle,
you know, they plug themselves in and then they never change. And, you know, it just stays on a congruent line, you know, through eternity.
We've talked about adaptation on this show before.
Right.
It's necessary.
It's necessary. And it takes practice to be able to change, adapt, or to even get better and to improve your skills, right? And so, you know, like for me, example, you know, we'll start off with a personal example. I play golf. I love to play golf. I'm, you know, fairly decent at it.
You really have to practice to be anywhere decent at golf.
Yeah, and so you know, if I practiced and put the amount of hours and time into golf that I put into business, you know, I would be phenomenal at golf, right? But I don't. I want to play golf to, you know, go have fun or whatever, and that's my hobby. And so, but business is my passion.
Right.
And real estate is my passion. And so, when you want to be good and excel and be beyond good, when you want to be great at something, you have to practice at it. You have to get coached. I mean, you know, we were talking before we came on the air. We were talking about like Conor McGregor or a Michael Jordan or a you know, whoever, a J-Lo.
All those guys have coaches.
You know, the celebrities, the singers, even.
Nutrition,
you know,
and dancing and singing.
They have a team,
right?
You know, a football team, right? They, you know, we'll take the NFL for example. You know, they play 17 games throughout the NFL season, right? So, what day's their payday? Sunday. Sunday's the day that they're making their money,
right?
And, but do you think that means they don't show up to the stadium or to their practice facility Monday through Friday?
They're there.
They're there, right? They're getting better at their skill.
They might get the late contract, like what's his name with Dallas?
yeah.
He did practice this week, though.
Right.
Yeah.
But once you get in the groove and once you're part of a system, once you're part of a team, you practice.
Right.
You know, even on game day, what happens before the game?
Yeah, they're working on fundamentals.
They're doing walkthroughs.
Right.
You know, they're doing, hey, let's get down to the fundamentals. Let's go over the basics. Let's make sure that everything is in place so that we succeed today. And so we actually put something of that nature into our business where on every day of the week, our sales and acquisitions team, after we've had our morning meeting, you know, we typically have about a 15 to 20 minute morning meeting every day without fail, you know, and we all go around, we give something that we're thankful for, we give gratitude, and then we point out what are going to be our big takeaways for the day or big goals for the day.
Right.
But then after that, before we go into making our sales calls, our acquisitions calls, and everything else, is 15 minutes of scripting. You pick a partner, you pair up, and it's scripting back and forth. How many objections can you come up with? How many objectives can you beat? So that when you get on that phone call and you're met with an objective,
you're mentally prepared to handle it
you're
because you've
prepared
already
to
been
handle
doing it.
Right.
Yeah. It's the same thing with anything else. And I was at a conference this weekend, and people see me running around and doing stuff, and I'm always there first. I'm the first person there in the morning. I'm there before the organizers. I'm there before people who are speaking. Before anyone's there, Pat Hilton's there. My guitar is tuned. If I need fresh strings, I put fresh strings on. And while I might come off like the goofball, I am so dialed in before I go in there.
Well, it's just like, I think we've talked about it before. Whenever you did GrowthCon a year or two ago, whatever it was, you had a malfunction while you were on stage.
Yeah.
But because you had practiced and prepared and everything else,
I was able to play it off.
Nobody else even knew that it happened.
No, they didn't.
Right? And so whenever you practice and whenever you prepare yourself for an instance, when that adversity comes, when you've practiced for adversity and that adversity comes, it's part of your normal day life.
Right. And again, back to like the Tom Brady's or the Air Jordans, it's like Tom Brady is prepared to beat you with no time left if he's down by 21 points. I remember watching, I think it was the Falcons or something.
The Super Bowl, a couple years ago.
And the Falcons just came out and just blowing on them, pounding them into the ropes. And I'm like, boy, oh boy, the Patriots look terrible today. And all of a sudden,
I actually won $100 on that game.
You go.
I'm not a huge sports bettor.
$100 is $100.
But $100 is $100, and we had made. You always make the pregame bets, right?
Well, absolutely.
We had bet $20 on the game. Me and a buddy of mine that was watching it, and when it got to halftime, he was like, "All right, you ready to forfeit?" And I was like, "No, it's freaking Tom Brady."
It's Tom Brady.
He practices every week his 2-minute drill and everything. So imagine if he has a whole half to run the 2-minute drill.
Yeah,
and that's
I remember
what they did.
thinking that.
It was the 2-minute drill the whole half. So I doubled down. I said, "No, man, I'll up it. I'll put $100 on the game."
If I'm going to lose 50, I might as well lose 100 or whatever.
Right. And so, it's when you put yourselves in those moments, it's are you prepared to combat it? And it's just like Tiger Woods or Phil Mickelson in golf. They constantly are practicing. Phil Mickelson is probably the best one to look at it from a golf standpoint. Every day he practices shots from the most obscure places possible.
Right.
And so, it's almost like doing trick shots.
Right.
But then there is nobody better on Sunday when it is crunch time and you're coming down the stretch and you get put in an obscure spot out on the course. Anybody else is punching out of the trees or having to take a drop because they can't play it or whatever.
Because he's hitting the green.
And he's on, yeah. And he's like, oh, this is, I practice this shot every day or whatever.
Right.
And so you have to be able to put yourself in a spot of adversity, or we talk about putting ourselves in an uncomfortable spot until you become comfortable with it.
Well, right. And with anything, it's like any goal in life, whether it's a goal or it's a business task or it's a fundamental thing, I stick to fundamentals. I just posted some little video today of like an interview. They were interviewing me at the event this weekend, but I turned it into a song. I stuck to my 5 chords, man.
Yeah.
Because those are the 5 chords. Those 5 chords are the building block of every Leonard Skinner, Allman Brothers, Madonna, every Wonderwall. They're all the same chords that I used. It's fun. It's literally like if you're a boxer and you're warming up, you only have 2 hands.
Yeah.
You're either going low or you're going high, or you're crossing or you're hooking.
It's a jab or a power punch.
There's really only a few options. It's whether you land it or not is different, but fundamentals.
Fundamentals. And so going back to fundamentals, when on all your pro sports teams or your individual pro players or anybody else or your movie stars or singers or anything, what do they have to teach them the fundamentals?
Right, a coach.
A coach, right? And so many people, kind of look down or see it as taboo to have a coach in business. But if Tom Brady's not good enough to have a coach, well, I'm dang sure not good enough to not have a coach then.
Well,
And so
right, and no
if
matter
you
how
ever
much
want-
you practice and how naturally talented or gifted you get, that was a point I was trying to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fun. It's the video's up. It's hysterical.
Yeah.
I taught myself how to do all of that stuff so I could publish my own content and do that. But only a coach and a business and an agency style concept is going to turn Pat into a businessman.
Right.
Or
And
I'm just Pat the
you just
entrepreneur
pat
forever.
you pat the solo, and you never learn how to. You never have that third party perspective of the team, right? And you've got the I mean, Tom Brady could probably call a game and call his whole offense.
I'm
and
sure he could.
be pretty good, right? But you still want to have the guy up in the guy up in the press box with his, getting to see the 30-foot perspective, or the 30,000-foot perspective, and say, hey, let's make this little tweak, or let's make this little tweak, so that we can take it to the next level.
They're getting through on this left side,
Exactly. Yeah.
right here.
Yeah.
So let's go past that.
Exactly.
They always find a way. Yeah, it's being able to analyze yourself. I think third party is a good way to say it, or 3D or whatever. It's when I'm setting up the camera and I'm playing and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. That's me being an entrepreneur.
Right.
And I've started to publish this on my page more and more because I have to make that transition. I said it on stage this weekend. Uncle G, hey man, I want you tagging me in a couple years and saying, hey, I'm making the transition to business owner. How many businesses do you know that have one employee?
Exactly.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Well, you just can't. You can't scale.
And
Without
while
a team,
some
you
people,
can't
that
scale.
advice might hurt some people's feelings. Oh, Grant Cardone told me to cut my hair and put my suit on and quit being an entrepreneur. It's like, no, dude, he just gave you $1 million worth of advice for free.
Exactly.
And gave you a $10,000 ticket to play on his stage. What do you got to make that move, dude?
Yeah.
And it's going to hurt.
And I get it. I mean, coaching, it's not for everyone.
It's not.
Some people, they want to stay the solopreneur. They want to stay the small mom and pop shop. They want, or whatever. But if you are wanting to get to that next level, if you're wanting,
I want to be doing commercials
be
on Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
Someone asked me this past weekend, what's your end goal? Like, Chris Ontiveros is his name. He's actually going to be doing some media stuff with me. What's your real end goal?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you've got this, like, crazy thing. I'm like, honestly, dude? You want me to really be honest and tell you? Because I never really started saying it out loud. And I'm like, I want to be on frickin' Pepsi commercials.
Yeah. So speaking of acting,
like I start playing and the bottle cap bursts
open.
off.
Yeah. My nephew Keegan, he's
Tie's son.
Tie's son. Yeah. I mean, he's
good.
a young kid. He's good, but he's doing some acting.
Yeah.
And he's got an audition this week for one of his first movie roles. He's done a lot of commercials. He was on the Dodge commercial last year.
I saw him on like a Super Soaker box or whatever.
He's done a lot of stationary advertising, all that type of stuff. But so even
What's
even
the next
him,
level?
he even has a coach that he goes to. And so, all this week he's practicing, he's with his coach, he's doing his lines, he's preparing for then to go in and do his interview at the end of the week, right?
Right.
And so it's from top to bottom. It's if you want to get to a next level, you have to have a coach. You have to have somebody that has already been in that situation, that scenario, so that they can pass that knowledge on to you. Now you can do it yourself, but what a coach does is bridges the time gap.
I agree.
Right? So you can either learn
But
for
you
7 years.
Be able to be coachable.
You have to be coachable. You have to be able to.
You
take
have to
the
be able to
advice.
separate the emotion. That can be hard for like an artist or a creator to be like, "Oh man, but I'm so good." It's like, well, no one said that you weren't good.
You're good.
No one said that we don't believe in you. Okay, I don't think there's been a few people who have been like, "Oh, that won't work," but I would say that it's the minority.
Right.
Most
and
people
a lot of
were
times,
like, "Oh, that's a great idea."
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times it's, well, are you trying to sell to yourself, or are you selling to somebody else?
Are you selling to somebody else?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not what is Boone looking for, or what is Pat looking for? What's the marketplace looking for? What does the marketplace need, and what are they demanding right now?
Right.
And so if you can only see it through your eyes, where you're like, oh, well, I think I'm good, and these few people around me, well, but is everybody else demanding that?
Right.
Is that what you're looking? Is that what the marketplace
or
is
make
needing?
them demand it?
Or make them demand it. Learn how to make them demand it. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And again, back to Grant, because he is able to force the market to demand. He's everywhere.
Yeah.
He pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed to the point where he's demanded all over the place now. Same thing Tie Lasater's doing.
Yeah.
He's everywhere all the time to the point where now.
How many people can you get in front of, stay in front
I've
of,
never
and
played
push
in
your
London.
push your message? Yeah, right.
Listen, he's been there like 7 times now.
Yeah. Well, and it's this week alone, it's 3 days, 3 states, and 3 cities, and it's he's in.
That's like the kind of thing we were doing with Tom Petty. I mean,
Yeah.
that is a big level of a commitment.
It's a tour.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
what it
what I
is,
mean.
and that's what it's been pretty much the last couple of months now.
Right.
Is once you start getting your message out there and your name out there, your demand goes up, right?
Right.
And so now they want you from East
He's
Coast to
everywhere.
West Coast.
He's
And-
like, dude, I need you to add all these videos into the
Yeah.
intro video.
Yeah.
And I go in and I add it in, and it's like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, whoa.
and then next week it's changed.
That is better footage.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because he's not someone who's always taking pictures or running around in the hallways. He's got his thing that he's got to do, and he's 100% focused on that. Again, coaching moment, which is why I love doing this show with him.
The whole reason he is on the stage where he's at right now is because of our business coach.
Right.
JT Fox gave us an opportunity, right, to be on a couple of his stages. Well, then that starts to get our name out there.
Right.
Well, then that leads to more demand for us. That leads to more market notoriety, more brandability, and everything else. And so now it's almost it's nonstop.
Right. It's cool, dude. It's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, like you said, sports and business very connected in the fact that how many times do you see sports stars utilized by business owners? And now it's almost at the point where we're at this Hollywood meets influencer
Mhm.
type of, like, the internet stars are almost like as relevant as sports stars and Hollywood people and the Grey's Anatomy cast. Or I mean, I'm trying to think about
Yeah.
what my wife watches and stuff. When we were kids, it was ER, the
Yeah.
show, and Chicago Hope. But now it's like the Instagram person or the funny
Yeah, it's-
song guy. I mean,
This
that
is social media
funny
influencers.
song guy, fun, entertaining advertising guy is what I always wanted to do. And it's like we talked about too. It's like, so I've got to kind of shave the edges off of everything that is a distraction or that is not productive. And those are coaching moments that I have to deal with every week.
Well, you've got to learn how to leverage your time
Right.
to focus your time on the most monetized value that you can bring to yourself.
Right.
And so for me, instance, right, putting files into a filing cabinet is not the biggest thing that I can do that can drive revenue for our company.
No,
so
you
I
need to be
leverage that
working on the next owner finance.
I've got to be working on the next deal, or making sure that the next closing is going to happen, or like right now we're working on a deal. We've been trying to get across the finish line for almost 2 months now. It's a property that a dead person turned up on title, which creates all sorts of issues. Well, the person that is on there with the heirs of the dead person, they're on non-speaking terms. So now we become instead of real estate investor, we've got to play family therapy
To
to
get
get
both
both
people to send the deal
people to
through?
send the deal through, to sign on the deal,
Dude.
and be okay with it, so that we can get and one of them's in Texas, 2 of them are in Illinois. The heirs are all in Illinois. There's a couple of them on title there, and so we have to we've got to get everybody in the same spot at the same time and be okay with the deal, or it falls apart, right? And so that's where I'm valuable, is being able to come in, take that situation, and we'll talk about that deal on a CEO talk deal
Right.
flow coming up, because it had a lot of moving parts and a lot of stuff, but we're really close to getting it across the finish line. Should happen here in the next couple of weeks or so, and so we'll talk about that coming up. But I mean, if I don't practice, if I don't understand or put myself in situations like that, then when this happens, I'm not able to perform.
Right.
Right. And so, but because I have practiced on, mind thinking and problem solving and being a solution-based mind thinker, I'm able to come up with a solution to the situation.
Right. Yeah, and I think that, like you said, I mean, you're also, you've got people that are in high levels of production in the area that you want to be successful in,
Mm-hmm.
giving you solutions and ways to integrate your
Yeah.
thought and brain into these problems as well, so that you're able to kind of break through barriers that
Absolutely.
you might not normally be able to break through.
Yep.
And so that's, again, this is all kind of part of the reason why I moved to Dallas in the first place, was because I wasn't around people that were going to help Pat get to the level of walking
Where
in
you
and
need
having
to be.
a team. We've got these 10 deals. This is what you're singing about, and then we got the voiceover at 10:30, and then we've got Susie coming in, and she's going to be filming the
You're-
Ford Motors Company commercial.
You're booked here, and here
Right.
for these conferences
And
or
that's it.
whatever. Yeah.
And it's like, firing from the hip isn't going to get me that.
No.
You know, I used to call myself the saloon buster back in the day, because I'd, show up, bust the place up, and roll out, and that's not going to work. That mindset has to be eliminated for me to go to the next level.
Right.
It worked for a while when I was a
It
kid.
does, man. It will work. It's, we've talked before about the people that you spent time with when you were, on the road. And I know,
Right.
What's his Afro Man or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
But like if you take someone like him and where he's at in business right now, right, which is not really anywhere, but it's because he was always the make the funny songs and just kind of give everything away and all that. And then you've got on the other spectrum a Jay-Z, who not only does he do his entertainment, but he practices actual business, and not all of his income is coming from just his music entertainment, right? He's learned to leverage out all these other
and
aspects.
who are you
of
marketing
business.
to? I
And
think
who are you marketing
who are
to?
you targeting?
Right. How big is your marketplace, and are you able to grow your marketplace, or is it stagnant? Because if you have a stagnant market, eventually, or stagnant size of market, eventually you are going to run out of the.
Well, and I
it's
think
why
that
we
you
do-
start
it's
to
why we
see
do
the
cold
levels.
calls. It's
Like
why
we
do-
talked about levels of where you're firing at.
Right. Well, that's why we do cold calls for real estate, because we are hitting all these separate. We're in 5 markets right now that we're actually doing targeted ad. We're actually doing targeted ads and dialed in marketing strategies to find property.
Right.
But we never stop doing cold calls, because we'll never run out of those. Those are still leads, and we will never run out of them.
Well, right.
And so if you're not growing your market base, eventually you will run out.
Well, and it's like, again, I always try to directly relate it to me, back to that lesson. It's like when I was playing at $2 Burger Night, I was marketing myself to the $2 Burger Night people.
Exactly.
So if you're marketing yourself to the $2 Burger Night people, then that's why you're making $100 or $200, not $2,000 or $5,000.
Well,
so you have
it's
to
just-
raise that target.
We've actually
You
had
have to
this.
raise your the way that
Your
you're
value.
presenting yourself.
You have to raise your value.
Everything has to go up.
And you always make these funny skits about value and all that type of
Right.
stuff. But we've actually even used that as coaching moments for you.
Right.
In that, if you give away your time for free, then that becomes your value, right?
Right.
And once you have given away free anything, people will never pay for it.
Right.
Right. And we've gone over that with you. And so you have to learn what your value is.
Right.
You have to know what your value is and be comfortable with what your value is, and then actually demand that value when you go to the marketplace.
Right. And those are while it's funny,
It's fun.
it is a lesson.
It's a lesson, and it's a learning curve. And
Right.
that it's exactly. I mean, we always talk about we are paid on the size of the problem that we're able to solve.
Right.
And so if it's just taking a lead, a house or whatever, and being able to get it under contract and wholesale it off, right? Well, we haven't really solved a large problem. We solved the problem of someone needing to sell their house.
Well, right.
But then when we can take a house that's got dead people on title, find their heirs, track them down, get everybody together, we're able to negotiate. We're able to negotiate a better term on the front side and everything else because of all the problems that we've had to go through, and demand a higher margin on our spread, right? And so when we're able to find bigger problems and solve bigger problems, we get to demand a higher
Well,
return.
right, and it's just like we talk about, and and I do follow a lot of coaches, and I know a lot of coaches, and some of them are high level. Tim Grover,
Mm-hmm.
speaking of Michael Jordan, was Michael Jordan's personal trainer for
Right.
a long time, and I remember being so ready to play every single day at that event, at the 10X event. He's like, well, listen, he's like, you got the third day, right? You're playing the main stage, right? Sometimes you only need one shot to take that next step. So, you're about to separate yourself from what you just explained to me. Because I explained to him the whole $2 burger night. I fought so hard, coach. And I was emotional, dude.
Yeah.
That was an emotional moment for me. I busted my ass to get to that moment.
Yeah. Well,
talk to this guy. And he's like, you got to understand that, like, this is how it's going to take years after this for you to get to that next level. This is just one step on that ladder.
This is the what propels you or whatever.
It's a pivot.
And it's another thing that our coaches taught us is that just like you're saying there, it takes one person, one deal, or one opportunity that can completely change where you're headed in life or where you're headed in business, right?
Right.
And so it's all the practice and everything that leads up to that moment or that event of whether you either nail it, or blow it.
And I remember telling him, like, we're not checking any of the sound packs. That thing's gonna cut out.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay.
Hope you're ready.
Yeah.
and it's what he, it's what Michael Jordan did.
Right. When he had a 98-degree fever or
but
100-degree fever.
But he put himself in practice in situations of doing buzzer beaters and knocking free throws down.
Right.
That whenever it got to the end of the game and a key free throw needed to be, I've actually seen videos of Michael Jordan in a game shoot a free throw with his eyes closed.
Oh, because I've seen him do that.
Because he's so confident. Look, I can do this in my sleep.
Yeah, I've seen him do
I've
that.
done it so many times, I know I'm going to make it.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I have seen him do that before. Yeah.
So when it all just comes down to, as long as you practice, as long as you put yourself in those situations and practice adversity, when that moment comes,
you'll pull it off.
You'll pull it off.
And sometimes
it's what gives you faith, and it's what builds up your courage and your confidence in yourself.
Right.
Is the more you practice, the more you do it, the more you become confident in it.
Right. I totally agree. Yeah, man, I like that. And I think that back to the key is, I think it says Ryan Harper's watching. I can't tell you how many times I stopped and asked Ryan questions this weekend because I know he has a different perspective on certain things than I do. So if I'm frustrated about this or that that's going on at the hotel and my wife's pregnant and we got a baby and it's hard. And he's like, listen, man, you know what I mean? That grind between the speakers and this and that, and you got to make sure the audience is receiving this from you. And it's like, sometimes you got to just open up and be coachable.
Yep.
And I've learned so much from allowing myself to stop for a minute, ask a question, and then dissect how I'm going to approach the next phase of whatever.
Yeah. That
can be really hard for people.
Had a coach. I've actually never spoke to Ryan. I think my brother has. He's been.
You guys have probably eaten chicken sandwiches.
Yeah, probably. But I actually watched one of his videos the other day. He did a little segment of 99 to 1.
Right.
And I'm actually reading a book right now called The Go Giver, which is.
We talked about that.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a very similar mindset of the more you're able to give, the more you're able to help out other people. It's always going to come back to you. And that's, we talk about coaches. Every once in a while you actually get lucky and get into a situation where someone who is above you actually mentor you.
Right.
So there's a difference between a mentor and a coach.
Absolutely.
A mentor actually is giving their time to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so we actually have one in our life and in our sphere that we go to a lot for a lot of stuff. But when we're not going to him for something or asking him for something, we do everything we can to drive business his way or whatever we can do to give value to him so that moment I do have to call him and say, hey, what do I do here?
Yeah.
I know he's going to pick up, help me out.
Right, because you've made yourself available.
Right.
Yeah, I dig it, man. I think that, Yeah, the little joke, the 360 success joke is true.
Yeah.
If you're operating on a nice swivel and you're pumping out stuff everywhere and you're trying to help everybody, that does come back. But there's also a limit.
Yeah.
You gotta understand, like you said. Well, here's how it works, and here's what I need to be able to produce things at a certain level for you.
Right.
And the other thing that's important is Conor McGregor doesn't get paid for the time that he puts into something. He gets paid for the experience that he brings to the octagon.
Yep.
So, like Usain Bolt made however many, let's just say $20 million in
whatever it is.
45 seconds of burying everyone in a race. But it took him 20 years, an X amount of hours. I mean, I've seen the little meme on like
the metrics on what it takes to get to that moment.
Success Industries or whatever on Instagram, and boom, 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 seconds, minutes, years, injuries, this amount of dollars for this and that and that, and that's why that green number is so large, is because of all the red stuff that happened to get there.
Yep. So they always, I don't know if you ever looked into the 10,000 hour rule.
Yeah.
But I mean the 10,000 hour rule states, it takes 10,000 hours of practicing something to become an expert at it.
Right.
And so you're not going to come in day one and jump on a cold call and start closing deals.
Well,
right?
no.
It takes practice. It takes patience.
You don't want to spar with the champ.
You don't want to spar with
on
the
the
champ.
first day.
Exactly.
You need to go work the bag for.
You got to go work the bag for a little bit. You got to spar, and you got to do everything else to get yourself mentally prepared for that moment. And then once you hit the moment, well, then that moment leads to another moment, and to But the more hours you can put in outside of the actual task you do, the better you're going to be at doing that task.
I agree with that. Yeah, totally agree with that. And how can you skyrocket your success? By putting someone in your corner that can get you there quicker.
Right.
Is the other lesson, because most of the people that we've mentioned have a high level expert that is helping their moves.
It's in their corner.
Connect to the end zone, or the knockout, or the slam dunk, or the home run, or all the things that we love to watch the replay of.
All right.
Let me rewind that one more time. Boy, he really got a hold of that. Well, there's a reason.
Yeah.
It was dialed in and charged up. Right.
So we kind of started on the golf analogy. I'll kind of end it here on a golf analogy. Whenever for people that watch golf, there's a lot of times when a professional golfer has a unbelievable round. There's only been one 58 ever shot. There's been 10 59s on the PGA Tour.
Interesting.
Right? And then several 60s through 62s or whatever. But whenever a guy has that type of day, he always 9 times out of 10 when they ask him about the round, he's like, man, honestly, on 17 I didn't even know where I stood. It's because he's so dialed into the moment and so focused on the process. The result is just a byproduct.
Fun out there. I was feeling it.
And we always talk about, in our business, the moments that we know we're being successful is when it's boring.
Right.
We're picking up the phone, we're closing deals, we're putting the phone down. We're picking up the phone, closing deals, putting the phone down, right? And it's just we're focused on the process.
Right.
And as long as we focus on that process,
then you're growing, you're expanding, you're building.
Growing.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. All right, as always, we'll see you guys next time. Shoot some comments in there.
So we're probably gonna, since I hit on the cash cast today, we're probably gonna skip deal flow this week. I'll be back next week when Ty's back in the office and doing his podcast.
Maybe you can talk about that.
Hopefully we'll have that one
that
closed.
Interesting deal.
We'll talk about the interesting deal.
Got to get those HUDs first.
Yeah.
All right, dude.
All right, man. Y'all.
We'll see you next time. We love you. Later.